On today's installment of the Basics, I want to take you through a few must-have cards you need in any deck when you're playing the Star Trek customizable card game. Now, because of all the expansions and all the sets that have come out over the years, there are a lot of good cards, but these are some staples that you want in any deck. I've taken them right now from my Borg deck because, as I've mentioned before, my Borg deck has never been beaten. So that should tell you right off the bat why you want these cards in your deck. Let me show you. Right off the bat, you'll notice I'm highlighting two doorway cards. Now, they are two different doorways, but they both do the same thing almost. Alternate Universe Door and Space-Time Portal. These cards help you get out your alternate universe cards, so any card that has that little red swirl icon, because a lot of personnel and ships have that icon. They have some of the best attributes out there, and you want to get them to help you complete missions faster. So you need these two doorways in your deck. If not one, then the other, and multiple copies of each one, 2 or 3. Red Alert is one of the most important cards ever created. This allows you to play as many ship personnel and equipment cards as you want each turn. Unfortunately, it's been recently put on the ban list for tournaments. I don't understand this because nobody ever had a problem with this card, especially in tournaments, up until the last few years. I know because I've been to tournaments and I played it. There are a couple cards out there that can get around this, but for all intents and purposes, it should still be a playable card in tournaments. But if you're playing against your friends, put it in there, you'll need it. Lifeform Scan. Now, whenever I bring this card up, people laugh at me, but think about it. You can glance at the cards in your opponent's hand for 10 seconds. 10 seconds! You can see what he's about to bring out. And it's an interrupt. You can do it on his turn. Not only will this piss off your opponent, but it'll give you an idea what to do in your next few turns. You want this card in your deck. You want at least 3 of them. Another couple cards that people kind of complain about, and I have 2 of them because you need 2 of them. This is the Wormhole that came out in the original set. It requires 2 of these cards. It's an interrupt. You play one where your opponent's ship is, and you play the other one where you want it to come back out of the Wormhole. Isn't that great? So, if you have an enemy ship that's encroaching on you, you play this card in the middle of his turn, especially if it's, say, maybe 6 or 7 turns in, where he's just getting everything set up. You can send him away. He's gone for a while. And with his limited range, he won't be able to be a threat for some time. Plasmadyne Relay, instant range and shields boost of +2. If you're at a station or an outpost, that's +4. That is huge. If you don't have metaphasic shields in your deck, you want this card. You want at least 2 or 3 of them. I do have several in my Borg deck because it helps me make my Borg cubes and spheres quite unbeatable. QNET is self-explanatory. This stops your opponent's ship between spaceline locations. Unless they have 2 diplomacy, they're not getting through. And if your opponent's playing an aggressive affiliation like Romulans or Klingons, or especially some of the Delta Quadrant affiliations, or Jem'Had are, they're not getting past this anytime soon. Rescue is a regeneration card. Regenerates any card from your discard pile, and then you toss this one. Gotta have at least 2 or 3 of these in your deck. Kevin Uxbridge Convergence destroys all event cards in play at one location and then goes out of play. You need at least 2 or 3 of these in your deck. Kevin Uxbridge is a very, very important card, and unless your opponent is stocking, say, 10 Amanda Rogers cards in her deck, he's not going to get rid of that very quickly. And it's an interrupt, which makes it beautiful. So, these are just a taste of what you need in your deck. Obviously, there's a lot more good cards from the various sets out there that you want to have in a deck, but it all comes down to what kind of a deck you're building and what you're going to attempt to do with it. So that's why I used my Borg deck, for example. I don't have as many of these nasty cards in the Borg deck because this Borg deck is built for brute force. It's less about worrying about what my opponent's playing on the table and more about I'm going to destroy everything as I go down the space line and maybe score some points at the end. If you're playing a more traditional affiliation like the Federation or the Klingons, you want more of these power cards in your deck, because if your opponent is playing a traditional affiliation or something that's not Borg, he's going to have a lot of the other cards to counteract this, so you're going to want to have a nice little war going on there, so you need these cards in your deck. Anyhow, that's all for this episode. I'll have another one coming up down the line that has more power cards and ways to defeat them. Have a great day.